ASX 股票小猎豹成长，订阅、评论、转发、点赞小铃铛，谢谢。
The focus we thought at the beginning of the week would have been who he chooses as his vice presidential candidate, his running mate. And some of the runners and riders there have been announced as keynote or headline speakers: Senator Marco Rubio, Senator J.D. Vance, Governor Doug Burgum of North Dakota. And I guess the potential role of a vice president really comes into sharper focus with the events we've seen in Pennsylvania. Now, the party has really rallied around Donald Trump more and more in recent months. He was always going to be treated as a hero here, even more so now. And I think when you see the way he reacted after the incident, getting up, pumping his fist, and the way the crowd reacted, the way some people kept standing in the crowd despite the fact that they can't have known the danger was over, really rallying for Donald Trump. I think that gives you some sense of the kind of energy we might see here throughout this week.
And that was Michael Rowland speaking to Barbara Miller earlier. Now, the US is no stranger to shootings and attacks on its political leaders. So how could this happen? Our ABC News Verify team has pieced together key moments and movements of the gunman leading up to the attack.
The rally was being held here at the Butler Fairground, 53 kilometres north of Pittsburgh. Special stands and a stage facing northwest were erected for the event. The three permanent buildings that we can see here in the satellite imagery are directly behind the rally stage and the supporter stands, and to the left of these is another series of large buildings and a car park. At 6:05 p.m. local time, Donald Trump officially took to the stage and started speaking.
This is a big crowd.
At 6:11 p.m. and 25 seconds, a few people in the crowd noticed something was wrong. 8 seconds later, we hear the first bullet being fired by the lone gunman. 2 more shots from what sounds like the same weapon can then be heard, and all 3 shots are fired in under 3 seconds. In this video, we can clearly hear what sounds like recoil from a rifle in between the shots, and we can see a sniper appear to act really quite quickly. Then, in this video posted by TMZ, we can see the shooter lying on the roof of a building. So, we've geolocated the shooter's position to be approximately 130 metres away from where former President Trump was standing on stage. The spectator in the crowd who was killed appeared to be about 45 to 50 metres north from the stage, and this graphic eyewitness footage shows people in the crowd attempting to save them. So, what is still yet to be formally established by authorities is how exactly the shooter got onto the top of that building and what steps were or weren't taken to secure it for this important Trump rally.
Donald Trump's team says the former president is okay after the assassination attempt, but many people fear the nation will take longer to heal.
Carnage after chaos. Thousands of Donald Trump supporters flee in terror.
Take the road! Take the road!
Shots ringing out across the crowd.
It was bullets. I mean, it wasn't firecracker.
At a rally with metal detectors at every entry, crawling with Secret Service agents and heavily armed guards. The question being asked around the world is, how did someone manage to fire shots at the former president?
The Secret Service, the FBI, and those local, state, and federal partners are going to be looking at this with a fine-tooth comb.
Take a look at what happened.
The shooting has been condemned from all sides of politics. But on the ground are symptoms of a nation already on edge.
Let's go, let's go.
I can't say for sure who's behind this, but I'll tell you what, it's only going to cause more division in this country.
I just really hope that the leadership on both sides can take this as a sign that we need to sort of change the tenor.
A University of California study last year found almost 33% of respondents thought violence was usually or always justified to advance political objectives. Almost 14% agreed that the prospect of civil war was a possibility for the United States.
The idea that a civil war could start I would say unlikely. Now, civil unrest is an entirely different kettle of fish. We have to remember this is the United States of America. There are a lot of people with a lot of arms, small arms, that could cause a good deal of chaos.
The chaos reopening old wounds in America.
This sort of reminds me back in 1981 when I was just 19 years old when Ronald Reagan had the attempt on his life, assassination attempt.
4 past presidents have been killed in office. No doubt every security agency in the United States will tonight be working to ensure there are no more. Emily Gramens, ABC News, Washington.
Let's take a look at some other news now. And Gaza officials say an Israeli airstrike has killed at least 90 Palestinians in an area designated a humanitarian zone. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims the strike was targeting a senior Hamas official believed to be a mastermind of the October 7 attack. He says it's unclear whether the target was killed.
This area was meant to be safe, where Palestinians had fled to escape the war. Instead, it was bombed, killing dozens and injuring hundreds of others. The attack landed near Khan Yunis, inside a designated safe zone, where the Israeli Defence Force had told Palestinians to seek shelter. At the Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis, patients lie waiting on the floor of a hospital already overwhelmed by months of war.
The first missiles were fired like rain towards us, then a minute between each missile. Why did they strike us? It should have been a safe zone.
The Israeli Defence Force says the target of the strikes was this man, Mohammed Daif, believed to be a mastermind behind the October 7 attacks, as well as senior Hamas commander Rafa Salama. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he personally approved the strikes after he was reassured there were no Israeli hostages in the area.
It is not clear that 2 have been killed, but either way, we will get the whole of the leadership of Hamas.
But Hamas officials have rejected Israel's claim.
The occupation's allegations that it is targeting Palestinian leaders in this brutal raid and massacre are false and baseless.
The Israeli attack is the deadliest in Gaza in recent weeks and comes in the middle of sensitive negotiations around a ceasefire and hostage release deal. If Daif is dead, it would be a big strategic victory for Israel, but it could also derail the peace talks. Alison Horn, ABC News, Jerusalem.
One teenager has died and another is in hospital after a high-speed crash in southern New South Wales this morning. It's believed the van that crashed had been stolen and struck a concrete power pole at Ulladulla just before 7. Police have not yet identified the victim and are searching for 2 others who were also believed to have been in the vehicle but fled the scene. As the South Australian Government weighs up whether to raise the age of criminal responsibility from 10, attention has turned to the conditions inside youth detention. The ABC has been granted rare restricted access inside a youth justice centre north of Adelaide ahead of the opening of a new 12-bed unit later this year.
This is where children as young as 10 could end up if they run into trouble with the law.
Young people are punished enough by being removed from their families and friends. But what we see here is a strong message that we can do better.
A $22 million upgrade of the Kalana Tapa Youth Justice Centre includes a sensory room, outdoor courtyard and shared spaces.
It's been developed and built with young people's input, children who have come into the space.
It's inevitable that you have to have some sort of institutional feel, the doors, the handles and things like that. But wherever possible, we've tried to pull those back and create an environment that is more therapeutic.
On any given day, more than 30 children are detained at the centre. Many are First Nations, have disabilities or live in state care.
Many children in the centre come from traumatised backgrounds, have had not many people around them to guide them.
Shona Reid is legislated to advocate for children in detention. Her office has provided these photos of the existing centre.
The buildings and the facilities in the older part of the training centre, they are old and they do require refurbishment.
I have already had a conversation with our team as to how we can incorporate some of these really clever newer features into some of our other spaces.
The government says the new building will open later this year. Stephanie Richards, ABC News.
Concerns about customers and workers being exposed to lead has forced hardware chain Bunnings to change how it handles the material when it's sold in stores. Union reports to work safety authorities in at least 3 states have triggered the move, with potentially harmful dust found at some sites.
They're products which have been on Bunnings shelves across the country, and the warning labels on lead in this vision supplied to ABC News are clear. Do not breathe in dust. But it's concerns about just that which have seen the hardware chain take action.
In our view, workers and customers should have never been exposed to unwrapped lead products in the first instance.
South Australia's Shop Workers Union says lead products in Adelaide were not being stored in line with safety guidelines, breaching state law and opening up customers and staff to coming into contact with the hazardous material. Other states were notified too, including Queensland, where testing was undertaken, leading to products being removed from the aisles.
I think having a product of this risk level just on a shelf like it's any other product is pretty surprising to the union.
SA's Plumbing and Electrical Union first flagged the potential lead problems with the SDA. It has experience with the material. Some of its members were poisoned last year while decommissioning an AGL power station in Adelaide's northwest.
The health implications of lead are very serious. Lead is a neurotoxin. It doesn't belong in the human body.
Since the issues were first raised, Bunnings has taken steps to manage lead in its stores, which includes wrapping the products it has for sale. Through a statement, the company said the move was made as an additional safety measure after receiving expert advice that the way the products were sold posed little risk. Cleaning has also been undertaken. In some locations, customers are currently being directed to the trade desk for products, but the SDA argues risk remains.
There is an ongoing concern we have about the residual dust that is on the shelves. We haven't seen any action from Safe Work SA as the regulator to remedy that in our view.
Safe Work SA says it's satisfied by the actions taken by Bunnings and the way the business is taking a uniform approach to lead across the state. Rory McLaren, ABC News.
Manly has made a statement by thrashing Newcastle as the race for the NRL's top 8 gathers pace. St George Illawarra are also making strides towards the finals after a tight win over the Broncos.
Both Manly and Newcastle had a chance to go into the top 8 with a win. With Tom Trbojevic resuming at fullback, it looked like the Sea Eagles wanted it more.
Trbojevic is running through. Here comes Tom!
The Knights were woeful at Brookvale.
Newcastle fans are blowing up.
Youngster Lehigh Hopewate starred with a double and a classy assist.